Any minute here. There we go.
Coaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Podcast.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. It has been a full 4 days since the last time we've all got together here to talk some fantasy. What's going on, everyone? I hope your week 4 was as crazy and hectic as ours. Just kidding. Hopefully you guys did much better than I did, at least in fantasy. It was a terrible fantasy week for me. Everything was upside down, but that happens sometimes. So now we're getting to the nitty-gritty. Let me introduce our crew as always. Coach Jibbs, what is going on, brother?
It's going good, man. I ventured out in the rain yesterday, watched my Eagles play. It was piss-pouring rain. I enjoyed every moment of it. Probably not the first quarter, but other than that, 4-0, let's go. I hear you on the fantasy aspect, man. All my rag shit teams, the 0-3s, the 1-2s of the world, they won. All the good teams lost. So I'm kind of I'm bittersweet about it, but hey, we'll see what week 5 brings.
Right, and this is kind of what fantasy's doing right now. So, and of course, Coach Sean, welcome back, brother. How are you, man?
I'm good. I can't complain. I'm blessed. Anyone who knows, I'm in Southwest Florida, and Hurricane Ian came through and did some damage. But I'm blessed. The house is good. Family is safe, and so I'm just here to talk. And Rashad Penny came through with a big day. So my weekend started off crazy and came out to be pretty good. So all things considered, man, I'm happy and I'm blessed.
Good. Glad to have you back. Glad that everything is okay with you, my friend. So we had a lot to talk about today, guys. I'm going to try to do it as quick as possible for all you guys so we can get in and out of here in an orderly fashion. So let's get into some of those fantasy news. All right, so we have some things I'm just going to quickly go through and mention, and then the next page, we have 2 pages of fantasy news for the first time in a while. We'll get into that. So obviously, some things that are going on, especially people coming off injuries. The first 4 weeks, that pump list, people are starting to come off that. Sam Darnold is eligible to return. It's not saying that he's going to practice just yet, but he did suffer that high ankle sprain in the offseason, but it looks like he could be coming back shortly. Brian Robinson, we all know the sad story on him. He is going to come off the NFI list and could start practicing this coming week. Some other minor injuries from this Sunday. Isaiah McKenzie, concussion. I don't know if you guys noticed, but anytime anyone got a concussion, they are out for the game. Yeah. Welcome to the new rules of football, guys. Isaiah McKenzie, Brian Hoyer, Jonnu Smith, ankle injury. Both the Giants quarterbacks went out at some point. They ran the Wildcat. Kenny G with his knee injury. Cameron Brate with a concussion as well. Kenny G is likely already out for week 5 in London, another London game, guys, so keep your eyes on that this week. And both rookie quarterbacks, Kenny Pickett, and probably didn't expect this one, Bailey Zappi, got some playing time in week 4. So good for them overall. Oh, we do have a fantasy question. Let me go through that real quick. Jacob, what's going on, brother? Actually, Harrison PPR, how'd I do?
I feel like that's a fair trade. It's, you're trading some. You might give up on some depth, but you got an upgrade at running back, and Najee with Pickett involved. That offense can't get worse. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure he has a wide receiver on his bench as well that probably has been giving him what Metcalf's been giving him. So it's probably a consolidation move, like you said, for the running back. And I'll just go with Harris on that one too.
Mm-hmm. Good trade. PPR league still good trade overall. You're getting an upgrade at RB. You can find wide receivers elsewhere that could put up similar to what Metcalf's doing this year. So don't hate it, Jacob. Good play. And Kyle, of course. Kyle, man, thanks for always tuning in, my friend. Love you coming into the show. All right, so let's get back to some more news, guys. Obviously, these are the bigger injury news. Jonathan Taylor, ankle injury. He suffered in week 4. Now, it doesn't seem like to be a serious long-term issue, and it looks like he could play Thursday night. So just keep your eyes on that over the next couple of days. If not, we'll talk about some players. At least I have some players on my list that we're going to mention about these waiver wire pickups. So just keep your eyes on Jonathan Taylor. Treylon Burks, rookie wide receiver from the Tennessee Titans. Turf toe, likely out for a few weeks. Cordell Patterson, he got a minor knee procedure done. Going on the IR, will be out for the next 4 weeks. Likely can't return until week 9. Definitely a major blow, but I'm sure we're all going to have some players to pick up for that. Javonte Williams, torn ACL, also torn LCL, and postural lateral corner. I don't know what that exactly is, but it doesn't sound good. He is out for the 2022 season. Hopefully be back by 2023. Tua has already been announced out for week 5. So Jibs, going to the game this weekend is going to be so much fun watching Teddy and Zach Wilson go at it. And Jahan Dotson is out for 1 to 2 weeks. How do you guys have any Javonte Williams shares?
I do have a little bit, and it's
big old zero.
Luckily, the one that I have him in is a redraft. So I mean, it's obviously devastating to lose that for your season, but it's not dynasty, so I'm not. It's not like I'm holding on to an asset for long term.
Right, exactly. I have them in a couple leagues too. Again, we're going to talk about in our waiver wire segment some players you can pick up as replacements for both Cordell Patterson and Javonte Williams, and maybe Jonathan Taylor as well at some point here. So, Steelers are expected to move forward with rookie quarterback Kenny Pickett.
Oh, love that.
Yeah. So, quickly, guys, any quick take on Kenny Pickett? Offense is going to hopefully be better, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that always scares me about a rookie is, and it's also a good thing for fantasy, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to throw the ball downfield. They're going to throw it into, bad coverages and get picked off and all these, kind of rookie mistakes that they're going to have. But for fantasy, it's nice because, you're going to get those big George Pickens plays. You're going to get the big Chase Claypool play every once in a while that you're not going to get with Mitch Trubisky. He's just not that type of player. So I think for fantasy, I think for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's still a bumpy road. It's still going to be a tough battle with Pickett back there. But for fantasy, you might see some more points to be scored, which is nice for us.
I love change. That's all I'll say. Like, the Steelers have not looked good the first 3 weeks, and they at least showed you something in the second half of the game. So they picked the guy high, so you might as well play him. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they came back in that game against the Jets. They were down 20-3 at one point. They fought back to almost get there. Kyle's kind of right. Deontay Johnson only getting 4 targets in week 4 scares me. Mm-hmm. He definitely. I don't think he's an every week starter right now. I don't think anyone on the Steelers besides Najee Harris is an every week starter at this exact moment. I think it's matchup dependent on what you got on your team.
Yeah, the Deontay thing is nerve-wracking like that because Deontay is known to be that short line of scrimmage, quick throw type of guy. And if Kenny Pickett's going to extend plays with his legs and do all that stuff that we've, expect him to do, he's not going to be looking 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. He's going to be looking 30 yards, 40 yards downfield. So I don't know. I was nervous when, Big Ben was gone, what was going to happen with Deontay Johnson. And then Mitch Trubisky still just targeted him like crazy. Maybe it'll be an overcorrection and he'll get targeted again next week. But I would be scared. I would be scared if I had Deontay Johnson on and I'm banking on those 10 to 12 targets a week. I'd be nervous.
Yeah, and that's it. He was a target hog for that offense, and now that you're finally seeing a shaky, I guess, floor to say with the new quarterback, I'm definitely gonna put him on my bench next week and just let it happen. Mm-hmm. Go with some other options, and so let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, they are playing the Bills, I'm pretty sure, so I probably don't punch any Steelers players going into next week. Let's give it a couple of weeks and give them hopefully some easier matchups down the stretch. All right, so that's the fantasy news. Again, a lot of things we're going to talk about. We'll talk about who we're going to replace for some of these big injuries. It's a big injury week for fantasy, which sucks always, but we'll talk about some replacements in just a few. So let's get into our first segment of the night, Buying the Hype, guys. And I sent you guys the doc earlier today of 8 players real quick. You tell me if you're buying this hype or not. Jared Goff sitting at QB5 right now. Are you buying or selling the hype?
I'm not buying that he's a quarterback 5, but the good thing is the Lions defense still stinks and they seem to be able to move the ball pretty well. So, I mean, he can have, he can throw the ball to a million different weapons. Amon-Ra St. Brown was out and they still scored a ton of points. Hawkinson stepped up in a big way, but I don't know if he's top 5 quarterback, but he's going to be useful. I think we have to accept that Jared Goff is a viable option.
I don't buy QB5 either, and he had some pretty good matchups so far. So let's see when he gets down to some more divisional matchups. We'll see how he does with the Packers. I think that would be a nice little litmus test.
He does have this Patriots, Cowboys, Dolphins, and Packers over the next 4 games, and a bye week, obviously, somewhere in between that. So it's going to be a true test right now. Again, I don't know if I completely trust him. He's looked decent. He has 11 passing touchdowns so far this season. He's looked decent. He's put 2 games over 30 fantasy points. I mean, but I'm probably not buying it yet. I mean, I don't know if he could end up having that kind of Blake Bortles like season where they're just putting up big fantasy points and sometimes garbage time or sometimes just being competitive in the nature they have been. The Lions have been competitive. So, but I'm selling on the situation still on top 5 at least right now. So, all right. Next one, Geno Smith, QB10 right now, looking pretty good as the new Seahawks quarterback. Better than Russell Wilson is looking this year. Are you guys buying or selling right now? Him sitting at QB10.
This one's tough. This one's tough because I didn't expect anything from Geno Smith coming in. I genuinely didn't. And then for him to put up these performances and do what he's doing, I think, again, he's definitely on my radar in Superflex leagues, but I'm still not buying the hype in any sort of single quarterback format where I'm like, I just don't, he had a big week again against Detroit, but I think any real matchup, anything like that he's not going to be running one in and throwing for 3 more. It's just that's not who Geno Smith is. There's enough of a track record that Geno Smith really is probably a 200-yard, 1 or 2 touchdown kind of guy. These big weeks are just, I think he's playing with some chip on his shoulder, but it's not going to last.
I'm selling it as well. I think like QB10 is pretty high. I think he could probably like finish around like the 15 to 17 range as the season progresses. But like the one thing I would like to say about Geno Smith is like he has good weapons. Lockett's been performing, Metcalf, everyone's roster. Like he has the potential and the talent to be a good receiver. So like he's doing something good, but I just can't it's just like if you read those 2 names, like I'd rather just play golf. If I needed to start a quarterback, I'm going to golf. Like if I put Geno Smith in my roster, I like literally just want to run to the hills. Like I'm just like, what are you doing? But
all right. I mean, he has 3 games over 20 fantasy points and 2 touchdowns in each of those 20 fantasy point games. I kind of want to buy into it a little bit, honestly. The schedule looks pretty decent for them. They have the Saints, the Cardinals twice, the Giants, the Chargers. I mean, it could potentially be pretty solid for Geno. I mean, he might be like a guy you keep on your bench, and if you don't like your starters, matchup, you might want to throw Geno in because he might get you enough fantasy points to keep going. I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued by Geno. Definitely not selling it completely, but I kind of want to buy into it a little bit. So, all right, next up. Clyde Edwards-Helaire sitting at RB4 right now, guys. Leading the Kansas City Chiefs right now. Are we buying or selling Clyde?
I'm buying. I'm buying. I just think that there's too many points to be scored in Kansas City. I think that they're deprived for playmakers around the goal line outside of Kelsey, and so he's going to keep scoring touchdowns. It's just going to be the way this team operates. I don't think Juju is going to have this emergence that we expected. I don't think Sky Moore is going to blow up the way people were talking about. And, CEH is just going to be a productive, high touchdown kind of guy. It's just, look for running backs on good offenses, and they tend to do well for fantasy. And go figure, CEH, a highly drafted, good running back on a good offense, is doing well for fantasy. It's just, to me, you have to start buying in eventually. I don't think it's going to be top 5. I think top 5 is a little extreme, but I'm buying in that CEH is having a bounce back season.
I'm still selling, but I'm getting closer to buying every freaking week. But like this guy's like defying just the statistics. Like he's not even playing like 60% of the snaps on a weekly basis. We saw weeks 1 through 3, the guy had like 7 rush attempts, and then he had like 4 or 5 catches. He's still scoring the touchdowns. And then I didn't see the game last night, but just looking at the game log or the box score, like he had 19 carries but no catches. So he did score that. I know he did have 1 catch. That crazy touchdown.
Crazy touchdown catch.
Sorry, the crazy touchdown catch. But still, like I don't know. Like I just think like he's gonna have some bottom weeks. He's gonna bottom out eventually, but like every week, like I'm saying, like it's getting harder and harder. So like maybe people could buy like I can't even say like can you buy low on CEH realistically if you have a manager who's just seeing like what he's putting up and just be like, I want to get off this guy.
Yeah, see, it's funny. I was thinking about that in Dynasty. I think if you are held on to CEH this whole time, now is not the time to sell him. Like you've believed in this talent and it's starting to pay off. Like I just think it's going to be hard to acquire him in a trade to a manager from fantasy managers right now because they're like, look, it's paying off. Finally, this hype about CEH after 2 years is finally coming to fruition. I don't want to sell yet. It'd be, it would have been easier after week 2. I think now it's like week 4. People are starting to come around where they're like, no, I can plug this guy in as a high upside RB2 every week. It's just crazy.
I think it comes down to who your fantasy owners in your league and depending on how they feel about it. Like for me, like if someone if I wanted to sell him off and someone was trying to buy him off me, even vice versa, I would be kind of hesitant, still want to do it. So I'm still not sold on the situation. He has 5 touchdowns over the first 4 games. He hasn't even played over 60% of the snaps yet. So like I don't know. I feel like it's the touchdowns are keeping him alive right now, even though he's rushing kind of well. I don't know. I'm still not sold on him, but that's what it is.
Yeah, you see McKinnon in on 3rd downs. Pacheco had some good runs last night as well. So
yeah, Pacheco did look good on a couple runs, man. I'll tell you, he has some spice. I like him.
They need to use him more, honestly.
after I just say how I'm buying into CEH, I'm pumping up Pacheco.
That's exactly how it's going to happen. All right, next up here, Miles Sanders sitting at RB8. Jibs, are you guys buying or selling the Miles Sanders season?
I'll buy it. He's a sleeper for me this year. Like, it's a contract year. He has to perform. He wants to get paid. The Eagles have one of the best offensive lines in football. They love to run. They're going to run. And we can see Kenneth Gainwell, like, he's more of the receiving back. Boston Scott's injured. So, like, this is his time to just kind of keep performing like that. And the only knock on him is hasn't been healthy. And he's been healthy so far this year. God bless him. And if he could stay healthy for the season, I think he could be within the top 12 running backs.
Mm-hmm. I agree with
Jibs. Running back sucks this year.
Yeah, I agree with Jibs. Look, again, same situation. Good talented running back on what should be a good offense. Going into the season, we should have predicted this Miles Sanders a little bit better because health was the only concern. Health was the only one. And as long as he's staying healthy, I think he's going to be a top 12 to 15 guy. No problem.
100% agree. I'm full in on Miles Sanders hype right now. As long as he stays healthy, that's obviously the biggest issue. But his snap count is increasing each and every single week here. This team is winning and playing well. I think was it 400 all-purpose yards on offense over the first 4 games of the season. Like they're using him, they're using the run game, they're running well. I'm all in on Miles Sanders right now this season. All right, next up is the Dolphins wide receiver duo, both in the top 5 currently right now. Are you guys buying or selling that right now? The top one.
I'm buy it, but like obviously factoring in Teddy and how long Tua is going to be out definitely plays a role of how they're going to finish. So they're both phenomenal.
Yeah. They're both the thing that's crazy, and I don't think we've ever seen this before, is they're both very explosive, win you a week kind of players. Like Jalen Waddle could go for 202, but so could Tyreek Hill. It's like this is crazy that these guys both have that ability to take any ball to the house. And so will they both be top 5? I mean, that would be extreme, but they're both top 15, top 10 in my mind. Like they're both plug them in and play them and forget about it every week.
Yeah, I think for the season long, it will come down to if Tua plays and when he comes back. Hopefully it's just they sat him for this game, just like let's not fuck around this time around. Let's just sit for another week, hopefully, and he should be good to go, hopefully, for week 6. Again, they're eating up like 55% of the target share in this offense here, and I don't know if it's Teddy. I think it only can be one or the other. But if Tua is in it potentially could be there because I think Tua is working really good with Hill, and then Tua has that connection with Waddle already. So we'll see what happens. But I'm buying it as long as Tua is in. If it's not Tua, then I'm selling it probably. All right, next up, Hollywood Brown, guys, is sitting at wide receiver 8. Buying or selling?
I'm going to sell because I didn't even know he was wide receiver 8. So like his performance on the field and his fantasy weeks is not giving me this like, oh, he's a top 10 guy. So I'm going to sell it. I think Hopkins coming back is going to, muddy the waters a little bit. And they need to it's not often that you see, James Conner in the running game struggle this badly. I think they're going to try and get the run game going again. And so I don't know. The top 10 is tough, but that's again because he's seeing a lot of targets, I guess. So I think there is a chance that he could fall out of that top 10 and top 15. And to me, he's always been this wide receiver 2 is more realistically where I value him. So I think he's just kind of one of those on a hot streak right now kind of players.
I'm selling. The Cardinals have nobody. They've been playing Greg Dortch. He's just been the beneficiary of the offense. So, like, once Hopkins comes back, Moore was playing, like, significantly yesterday. So, like, I think the targets will get divvied up. And it's just been the Brown and Ertz show for the most part for the first 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah, no, definitely. Again, it's going to be hard to probably trade him off because people know that Hopkins is going to come back. You're probably going to have to package him with another deal to kind of get that to go through. I mean, he has 3 straight games with 11-plus targets, but with Hopkins coming back at some point, I just can't see that being a realistic situation. So, all right, next one, guys. Here we have Gerald Everett, tight end 5 currently. How do you guys feel about that?
I like it. I mean, I like Gerald. I liked Gerald Everett as like a late tight end kind of pick. I don't know if he's going to be this productive when Keenan Allen comes back. I think things might kind of waver a little bit, but he's always a threat to score a touchdown every week. And that's when you go with these late round tight ends and these later guys, you're not going to get Kittle and Waller and Kelsey type volume. You're just hoping he scores. And so looks like he's got, Herbert's eye in the red zone and he's getting touchdowns. So I think there'll be some down weeks, but for what you paid for him, I'm buying in.
I don't think top 5, but what's on Parham's status? Is he just hurt?
He's just been out constantly. He's been hurt.
Okay.
Yeah, he hasn't played all season yet.
Okay, so like once he comes back, that would be like reason for him to like drop in that like 10 to 12 range. But I could see him being like a top 10 tight end at the end of the year. Not 5 though.
I respect it. I'm buying into it a little bit here. I think that Herbert likes to throw to his tight ends at this point of the season. Keenan Allen's dealing with that hamstring injury, and it just seems like he's good for 5 for 60 and possibly a touchdown most weeks. So, and I'm buying into the offense. So I like it though. All right, let's go over the last one real quick. Will Disley, tight end 9 now. Are we buying to Will Disley? Big Montana. It's been a long time since we've heard of Will Disley being good in fantasy, and he's done it now. He's tight end 9. Are you buying or selling?
I'm going to buy just because I think he's one of my waiver picks.
Oh,
I can't just sell him off. But the guy, like, he's not, like, getting a lot of volume, which, like, Everett has been getting, like, the top 8 tight ends. But, like, he's getting 3 to 4 targets, getting 3 catches. He's scoring a touchdown in each game. And he's not killing you. Like, 10, I think he's scored at least 10 points in PPR league so far each time. But yep. So that's a preview to my waiver wire, guys.
Oh, great.
No, just kidding. But top 10 now.
Yeah, I think man, I want to buy into Will Disley because tight ends are so abysmal, and it's like, again, a waiver wire late dart throw, and he's putting up points, so why not? But I just don't. I think that if I sold Geno Smith, I can't buy his pass catchers. That's just that in my mind, I can't do that. So I'm selling that Geno Smith is going to come back to earth a little bit, and I think that Seattle off the passing attack and touchdowns are going to come down a little. And Will has been, a beneficiary of some broken tackle touchdowns, and so I just think there's some kind of freebie points there that aren't going to always be there.
That's so funny because I am selling off Will Disley, even though I bought into Geno kind of. But it's just a target share. I mean, 3 to 4 targets each and every week and being very touchdown dependent. It's just, I don't think that is sustainable. If he was like having good games without the touchdowns and seeing like, like what Jared Everett's doing, he's seeing like 7 to 8 targets some weeks, then I'd be like, all right, like I can buy into that. But the target share isn't there for me. I'm not going to buy into Will Disley right now. So, all right. So let's move on to the next part of our segment, last week waiver. So I wasn't here, guys. This is all you guys. So, Coach Jibbs, you had clear Herbert, Dobbs, and Coughlin. All solid performances. Not bad overall. Can't beat any of them. Herbert kind of disappointed in what we think really expected out of him, but solid performances all over 10 fantasy points, I think, in half-point PPR. You had Sterling Shepard on there, but we didn't know later on that day he'd go on the IR and out for the season. So, and then Greg Dortch, just major disappointment with Marlon Mack, with Rondale Moore back in the fold. So again, who knew? And then Coach John, you had Herbert, Dobbs, and Hurst, all really solid performances. You had Zay Jones, unfortunately, was out for week 4. And then Jalen Warren, again, he just a backup kind of situation.
Just a safe
kind
backup. Nice and safe backup.
He was a backup to grab, and he does work when he gets those picks. So he hasn't been bad, but I think we all knew he wasn't someone you were going to plug in or anything. So
No.
All right. So now over to the top 5 overall waivers for this week, guys. Coach John, you get to go first. Give us your top 5 waivers overall, or whatever you like to do, position-wise, whatever you like to do.
All right, so I'm going to go in order of kind of how I'm prioritizing them. The first one is check your waiver wire. If Tyler Algier is there, go grab him. He's been getting work the past couple of weeks, been splitting work with Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson's going on the IR for a few weeks. So it should be mostly Tyler Algier going forward. So at least for 4 weeks, rookie running back for the Falcons. And so he's one. Mike Boone is another one with the Javonte Williams news. Obviously Melvin Gordon is going to get vaulted into a crazy role, but there is going to be a secondary piece to that. And I think Mike Boone is going to be that guy. Wide receiver, I like Josh Reynolds, even though there was, some speculation about Amon-Ra and I can't think of
Shark.
It's Shark being out. But with them back, it's still, it's dicey. Anytime there's injuries next week back, what are you going to do? So I think Josh Reynolds is a good plug and play guy if either one of them miss time. And then quarterbacks, I'm picking up Jared Goff, and then check because I want to. Corey Davis is out there, and I think Corey Davis, you need to start paying attention to what he's doing. The quarterback change made me nervous, but he still scored. He's going to be a viable wide receiver 3. It looks like he's not going to break the bank and go over 100. But he's going to be consistent and try and get you a score every once in a while. And I know people are still hanging on to guys like KJ Hamler and some other crap. And you can cut bait with a lot of people and add Corey Davis and be just fine. And spot start him in a bye week, spot start him with an injury and feel comfortable. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that 5? 5. 4?
I think it's 4, yeah.
All right.
Here, Reynolds, Goff, and Davis.
Yes. And then last one, Deion Jackson. In case there's any time missing for Jonathan Taylor. I think he's the rookie running back that got the hype in the preseason. I think it's going to be a lot of Nyheim Hines. I think they talked about Phillip Lindsay getting some work. But you got to just take your chance and just see what you got there. And maybe Jonathan Taylor misses a week or two and you got to play.
Okay. All right. There's Coach John's top 5. Coach Jibbs, what do you got for us?
That's pretty much the same. Like, if Algier's there, go get him. Like, the guy had 10 carries, I think 86 yards or something yesterday. It was like 8 yards per carry, and it's pretty significant because the first 3 weeks, he was averaging 3 yards per carry. So he got some good run there. And with, like you said, Patterson being out 4 weeks on IR, he gets the lead driver's seat. So definitely a significant add. Wide receiver, I'm going to go Pickens. We talked about him before, and it's great news that the Steelers committed to Pickens, and I'm loving the Pickett to Pickens connection.
Great.
And we see rookie wide receivers, they take a long time to get going in fantasy in the rookie season. So he's a bench stash, and the bench stash, and see if he breaks out later on in the season as Pickens progress. Mike Boone. Melvin Gordon has 4 fumbles in 4 games, I believe. So he's averaging a fumble a game. So the Broncos brass is they're obviously going to go with them, but they're probably getting a little bit they're not trusty of him anymore. So if Mike Boone's that second guy, we've seen the Broncos use 2 running backs. So it's going to be a rotation somewhat. So add him. We've seen injuries galore this week, so we don't know who's next. John gave Goff. So I'll go Geno. He had a great performance, and like Steve said earlier, like his matchups, especially for a long-term perspective. Like I know he'll face the Saints next week, and they're pretty good against opposing quarterbacks. I don't think a quarterback has more than like 17 or 15 fantasy points to get him. And then they get the Bengals, which are pretty much worse. But after that, the Ravens and the Raiders give up the top 4 points to the position. So like it'll air Geno for those weeks. And Conklin's still under 40. He's 40% owned exactly. Like what does this guy have to do? He had 50 yards, quarterback change. He's been target hauled the first 3 games of the season. So like instead of getting that Will Disley, you got at least got a guy who's had some volume and he could give you 5 points without like any hassle for a tight end. So those are my 5.
All right. I do like that, boys. Real quick, Tyler Algier is probably going to be one of the bigger pickups because obviously he's going to take the starting reins more than likely. What's the percentage of fab are you guys spending on him?
Ooh.
I'm
Overall,
so mad.
I mean, I would throw 30% of my budget at it. I wouldn't, I mean, because you're going to get at least 4 weeks, especially Algier, because you're going to get 4 weeks of legit performance of like must start kind of work. And then once Patterson comes back, who knows? He might still be a flex worthy kind of play. He's not like he's going to just fade into nothing because he was getting touches with Patterson available. So I'd feel comfortable chipping away at like 25-30% of my budget.
I think that will have to get it done, especially for teams who are running back needy with these injuries. Like honestly, like I'd probably be within that 20-25% range, but I don't think that's going to get it done. So like,
might have to go 35-40, honestly.
yeah, like this is like there's not that many running backs. Yeah, you gotta know your league. Like I know my league that we use Fab in, he's probably gonna go within the 40-30 range. Like it's running backs just go up. Like wide receivers go for 20 max, and you get an occasional whack job who pays $17 for the Eagles defense.
Exactly.
Dude, it's paying off right now, though.
Yeah, there is.
It's paying off.
All right, we do have a question in the chat here from Ryan. Do I make this trade? I get Godwin, I'm assuming it's Hollywood Brown, and Kareem Hunt, give away Clyde, AJ Dillon, and Deontay Johnson.
Okay, so let me think this.
I'm going to answer real quick here for you, Ryan. So it depends on what your running back situation looks like, because you're giving up 2 RBs to get Kareem Hunt, who I don't know if is a completely RB2. He might be at best right now a flex option. Getting Godwin is great right now because I think hopefully he improves. He did get a little banged up last night. I think he's fine though. And Hollywood Brown, we mentioned before that his stats might drop when DeAndre Hopkins comes back. So I think I might look for another trade.
Saquon and Connor,
Clyde and Dylan and Deontay. I think I'd rather look a different direction than that trade personally.
I have
Saquon.
So he's having trouble. So the problem is he's having trouble getting CEH into his lineup. And so now he's thinking to himself, how do I trade to get wide receiver help? Which totally fair. I just would look for you. I think at this point for CEH and AJ Dillon and Deontay Johnson, you can get more, I think, than what is being offered to you. I think you might be able to finagle. Godwin's good. Marquise Brown's good, but I'm talking like go get a game breaker. Go get someone who's like, really going to break the bank for you because you're solid at running back. So I think you can flip CEH for a legit piece. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you could go get I'm going to sound like a broken record, but like go talk to the Chris Olave manager and be like, hey man, like, what do you like? I got CEH, you got Olave. Let's give me Olave plus, and I give you CEH. Like, and someone might do that. You might be able to finesse that in realistically because of how well Clyde is playing right now. And so I would just be careful. I get now that they told me who, Cook, Saquon, Connor, you're not really going to sit any of those, like, you're starting them every week. And so it's just tough to get CEH in the lineup and you're missing out on points on your bench. And that's a frustrating feeling.
Yeah. I mean, with those, I guess it's okay then. I mean, if you want to get Godwin, he's a strong wide receiver too. Hollywood Brown is probably a plug and flex right now. Now that I know the RB situation, it's not a bad, terrible trade. It's not a terrible trade at all. It's an okay trade. You're getting a high end guy who we're trying to sell, and you're giving away a high end guy you're trying to sell as well right now with Clyde and Hollywood Brown. Godwin's, I think, is an upgrade over Deontay. I think Dylan is kind of an upgrade over Hunt. So it kind of balances out at the end of the day now that you have those RBs. So Kyle says Clyde would be in my lineup every week regardless. I mean, right now, yeah. I mean, I don't know, maybe try to switch for James Conner in there, see if I take that.
Ooh, that would be a
really
fun
like
bet.
James Conner long term personally. So
yeah, just swap. Just be like, I'll do it for James Conner. Be like, I don't know. See what they say. You never know.
All right. So let me go through my top 5 real quick, and we'll get back to another question here. So for my top 5 this week, guys, I went with Tyler Algier, and so he's my number 1. He's the guy I'm picking up the most if I can. Cave Huntley is also a guy maybe in deeper leagues, or if you think you're not going to be able to get Algier, go for him and spend less money, and maybe he ends up being really good. He did have like 11 carries for I think 60 yards, and I think he had a touchdown. So he actually had a pretty good week. Mike Boone would be second for me because I don't know if Melvin Gordon has that job locked in personally. It could just not be that situation. Mike Boone, I think we've seen flashes of him be really good, but he's never been given a chance to do it. So maybe this is the year he gets that chance finally. Josh Reynolds is in there. As long as St. Brown is out, Josh Reynolds is a plug-in flex option pretty easily for me right now. He just fits the system, what they want to do with him being that slot wide receiver. If St. Brown's out, and maybe if St. Brown's not out, he might end up seeing some more targets right now. Geno Smith, in terms of a quarterback right now, I'd like to pick up and hold on to and see what happens with him. And then I guess I did go kind of positional here, but Daniel Bellinger from the New York Giants, they don't really have anyone at all, but they need to throw it to somebody. I probably would want to grab him. He's had 40 yards back-to-back games. So if you're looking for tight end right now, Daniel Bellinger has produced, and they need somebody there. They don't have anybody. And Kenny G might not even play this weekend, so his 2 targets might go to him anyway. So
what is going on?
I don't know. How are they winning games is what I want to know.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy. That's what's crazy to me.
Yeah. So yeah, a little strange, but yeah, he's working it. So we do have another question from Andrew. What's going on, Andrew? Tough week, lost Javonte, and JT might be okay. He might be there.
Yeah.
So
that's still a scary week. That's your RB1 and your RB2 going down. That's not fun.
Algier's to the moon.
Yeah, I would pay up. I would pay up for Algier.
Or put a measure number one.
Put a measure priority. Yeah, priority. Yeah, out of those 2, I just think there's more meat on the bone with Algier.
Yeah, there's more like you're gonna get probably a full-time starter at least. We don't know if Mike Boone's gonna do that. I have him up there. Personally for me, but you don't know if it's actually going to come. They might just go back to Gordon. He might end up not fumbling ever again this season. Who knows? So Algier is going to get the ball hopefully for the next 4 weeks here. So that's how I probably would as well. So, all right. So what are we at now here? We're all.
I have a question.
What's up?
From my group chat, this guy has been awful work the whole day. I think our fantasy matchup's close. He's been contemplating Higbee versus Kittle. Who would you play?
Oh man! If you need, it's Kittle, right? Like if you're down by like 20 points, you put Kittle in because you're like, there's a chance. There's no chance Higbee gets 20 points, but if you're down by 3.7, down by 3.7,
6.7. At PPR.
I would just take Kittle on call.
I would too, but that's so scary because Kittle could Kittle could have a disappearing act, which would suck on you. I don't think Higbee will ever get less than 5 points, but he's never going to get more than 12. So I would still play Kittle, play the talent, but that's scary. I get why he's thinking about it.
Plus, I don't need Higbee to go off, so I don't want that in my wheelbarrow. So, all right. So let's get over to the last part of our night, guys. Here, we'll make this quick. The positional waivers here. All right, quarterbacks real quick here. Some other guys that we might not have mentioned. Ryan Tannehill versus Washington. Teddy Bridgewater versus the Jets. Whoever plays quarterback in New England versus Detroit. I mean, if Geno Smith can do it, why can't Brian Hoyer? Whatever quarterback plays for New Orleans this week. Jameis might be more rostered, but if Andy Dalton plays again, maybe he does well enough against Seattle. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you guys feel. Is there anyone that that you guys care for, or we kind of mentioned just Goff and Geno are the best 2 options for you guys?
Out of that list, Teddy Bridgewater is the only one that interests me, just because he has weapons to throw to and an offense that seems very competent. I don't know. Ryan Tannehill, I don't know what's going on with Tennessee in that passing attack. Treylon Burks is missing time now, so that's not good. New England, you're getting Bailey Zappi probably, and so it's like I have no idea what I'm going to get with Bailey Zappi, and so I'm not going to buy into that. I don't care if he's playing Detroit, and then the New Orleans quarterback, if it's Andy Dalton, you could probably plug and play, but I'd rather Goff or Geno or some other names that we mentioned.
All right, Jibs.
I'm sticking with Goff and Geno.
All right, I respect it. I like it. All right, over to some running backs here now. So other guys, obviously outside of the ones we already mentioned, Latavius Murray. He could end up getting another play this week if no Alvin Kamara. I mean, maybe Mark Ingram's probably more than rostered at this point, but Murray got involved. Rex Burkhead is pretty low in PPR leagues. Kenny Gainwell could end up having another good week like he did this week. Again, Isaiah Pacheco might be a guy long-term that you might want to roster now. Overall, Justice Hill, he got more work again in this Ravens offense. Deion Jackson that John mentioned before. Philip Lindsay is on the practice squad for the Colts. So just keep that in your mind. So overall, just keep that in your mind, because if no Jonathan Taylor, it could be a Philip Lindsay game where he gets activated to the roster and he's the guy. So that's potentially there. Craig Reynolds is still out there. He didn't really get picked up this past week. He did decently and good enough. Nyheim Hines over 60%, but if there's no Jonathan Taylor, he's potentially there. Gus Edwards is coming off the pump soon. So just keep that in mind. And then just watch out for Kenyon Drake and Mike Davis. If, Gus Edwards does get activated off the pump, they might be cut candidates, and they might end up in situations like Denver and Atlanta. They might need a veteran running back there. So keep those guys in mind. Anyone there that sticks out to you guys?
Isaiah Pacheco really is kind of the only one. Seems like a good running back on a good offense. And so all it takes is an injury to CEH and you got yourself an every week starter. So
I'm getting harassed in the chat right now.
So yeah, I think that's a good one. I'm not interested in Lat Murray, Rex Burkhead, some of these old busted running backs. It's like they're comfortable and they're safe and they feel good in your lineup. But, then all of a sudden you get 2 points from Lat Murray or 1.6 points from Lat Murray. And you're thinking to yourself, what was I like? Why was I believing in this person? And it's like, I just think that you might as well go Justice Hill, go younger, go more explosive. Like that's just how I play fantasy. I've just never, bought into these like veteran retreads that are just going to get you 5 carries, 6 carries for 23 yards. It's like, that doesn't win you any sort of week. I don't care what the situation is. And, Lat Murray might fall into a touchdown, but it's like, I'm not going to gamble on that and bet on that.
Pacheco. I think I had Rex Burkhead as a sleeper last week, and like I said, like during hard matchups, they're gonna use him. They're gonna utilize him in the passing game, so he may be sticking around. I know he's not gonna do that much rushing, but he's gonna be a force in PPR leagues.
Mm-hmm. All right. Cool. All right, let's get over to the wide receivers that I have listed here. Again, we mentioned Josh Reynolds, Corey Davis already, but Alec Pierce has had back-to-back pretty solid outings overall. He could be an option. Michael Gallup's just over the 40% mark, but he's only 42% rostered, and he had a touchdown this week, though he's getting back and involved in that offense here. Mm-hmm. Isaiah McKenzie, let's see where he's at with his concussion. Matt Collins didn't really step up to the plate after that big week 3, but he's still an option. Devin Duvernay, just at 40%. Rashad Bateman did get a little banged up in that game this past week, so could be someone else stepping up there, maybe Duvernay. Nico Collins, he had a pretty solid outing this past week. Joshua Palmer, only 37% owned still. He should be probably someone on someone's radar right now. I just traded for him in Dynasty. Pretty happy. George Pickens, Jibs mentioned, he's still under the 40% mark. Jacoby Myers is at 55 or so. Just wanted to mention him. He might have been dropped in the last few weeks here. He's going to probably come back eventually. Zay Jones. And then again, Jameson Williams, guy, if you had looking for an IR spot, also is potentially there. So anyone that sticks out to you guys?
I think that Jameson Williams, I'm glad you included him because I've been kind of getting excited watching Detroit score points and thinking to myself, when this guy comes back, who's supposed to be the explosive playmaker, the factor in this offense, what's going to happen? Like he could be, if in my mind, if Amon Ra can put up 30 points and we all believe in the talent and deep threat ability of Jameson Williams, like sky's the limit for this kid when he comes back. Now, is he going to come back full speed because he's coming off a major injury? I don't know, but he's someone that's definitely in my, redraft more casual leagues. Like if he's out on the waiver wire, I'm adding him to my IR every chance. I did it. I drafted a lot of Jameson Williams just to slide into my IR. So if he's still sitting there, I would grab him and sit on him because when he comes back, he could be a difference maker.
Not other than the guys that we mentioned throughout the show. I'll just go back to Zay Jones. Like he was a waiver wire guy that we were suggesting last week, and the matchup was just terrible against the Eagles. James Bradbury and he didn't even play actually, to be honest. So he should be back next week. I watched the game and I even
it's just weird. Like Jamal Agnew is not going to be taking a lot of touchdowns away from Zay Jones. Like let's be serious. Like it happened to be that Jamal Agnew broke one off, but I think realistically the bet should be more on Zay Jones and Christian Kirk.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. All right. So let's finish up with some tight ends here. Again, we mentioned Daniel Bellinger. Jibbs mentioned Will Disley at some point being a guy, but Hayden Hurst is still pretty under-owned. Robert Tonyan, Irv Smith is just kind of over. Greg Dulcich from the Denver Broncos, he's coming off the pump soon. Alberto played 2 snaps this past weekend for God knows what reason. Maybe he gets on the field and ends up being the tight end that we want for Denver finally. So keep him in mind as well as stashes. So, but anyone there you guys want to mention or? And tight ends are tight ends.
Yeah, they're all fine. They're all fine. They're all okay.
Over the bunch. So
yeah, Hayden Hurst would probably be the most the highest floor out of the bunch.
Right, probably because the offenses that he's in for sure. But all right, we are going to wrap things up tonight, guys. Coach Sean, anything you want to say before we head out?
No, I got nothing. This was a great episode. This was good reprieve, get away from the devastation of Hurricane Ian for a little bit and just talk about football. So this was nice. I appreciate you guys and I appreciate all the listeners tuning in.
Awesome. Yeah, we love having you back. That's for sure.
Thank
and
you.
Coach Jibbs, what you got?
Go Birds.
Go Birds. All right. Love it. Love it. Go Birds. Again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in as always. Again, you can follow us on Twitter at Coaches Fantasy. You can check out our website at www.thefantasycoaches.com. We got our articles. We have the Dynasty Coaches. We have rankings. We have my playbook that's up there and a couple other different cool things up there. And again, we'll be here anytime on Twitter, like I mentioned, Coaches Fantasy, to help you guys out with any waiver wire pickup questions. Just DM us on Twitter or Facebook or even on YouTube, honestly. So thank you guys all for listening. We'll be back on Thursday to do our start and sits for week 5. Enjoy the rest of your week through 4 and have a good one, guys.